As you can be seated. I just got one question before I really dig into something, and I need you to look at me, and I need you to pay attention. Have you ever tried to do things your way? Have you ever tried to do things your way when you know somebody knows a better way, but you got to try that thing out for yourself? How does it work out for you? When you think that you got it all understood, and you think that some things are so easy and it's no big deal and all this and all like that, when you try to do things your way, you tend to just fall on your face. You tend to fail miserably. What happens when you think that you start doing things your way and not God's way? How'd that work out for you? But like my deal is, I got one question for you. Now look at me and answer me this question before we dig in too deep. How am I going to know God's way if I don't know God? How do I have an understanding of who God is, but I really don't know God? Like I think that there's something more in this life, in this world, outside of me. I think there's more to this life in this world when I die. I've had people tell me stories about a cat that supposedly came to this earth, and he was supposedly 100% man, like me and you, and 100% God, and he lived for 33 years, right? And died without committing one sin the entire time that he was here. And they tell me that when he died for me. Do you believe it? Because if you believe it, then you can receive it. But if you don't believe it, then you can't receive it. And that means you don't have a foundational relationship with the King. So that means that you're going to continue to do things your way. Can we open that up a little bit and look at it? Say this word with me. Temptation. This world gives you anything and everything that you could ever want, or your mind makes you think that you could want. Like if you yearn for relationships, only thing we got to do is put ourselves out there, right? These bukus of people that's willing to come into a relationship with us and be grown up and do relationship type things. That's not a hard deal. Now we got a lot of people that needs attention. Young ladies, can I speak to you for a minute? Y'all think that y'all got to have an attention of a dude, right? Like you thrive off that attention. Like you want to put yourself out there enough so that when people walk by you, you can get a nice comment or people can come chasing after you. I'm not telling you that that's wrong. But sometimes we get so consumed with that if we don't get any attention, then guess what starts to happen? We open ourselves up a little bit more. Like if my blue jeans and my t-shirt don't get me no look, then let's open it up a little bit. Let's cut my blue jeans up a little bit. Let's make it a little bit shorter. Why? Because I need somebody to notice me. And a lot of times that comes from simply being a teenager and getting those warm and fuzzy feelings about guys and gals and all that good stuff. Some of it is absolutely natural. But some of it is not. Some of it we missing something at home. So my temptation, the thing that draws me is attention from others. I've craved that attention. And if I don't get that attention, I'm going to set it up so that I draw that attention. And oftentimes, I don't draw the right attention. And when I don't draw the right attention, I'm asking for something to come in my life that God didn't intend to be there. See, a God is a God of organization. God is a God of purpose. God is a God of control. And a lot of times we look at our life and we say, you know what, my life is horrible. My home life is horrible. I don't understand why people don't love me. I don't understand why it's so hard. Sometimes we go home and we got people that love us, but they don't show us God. So therefore, when we look at temptations, we don't look at things that's going to make us slip, trip, and fall because we grow up in it, so we think that it's natural. We think that it's natural. We think that it's natural to sit down at a table and have a few drinks, and it's all good. And then the next thing you know, those drinks have consumed us, and it's something that we got to have. Do you remember, I don't know if I told you this, but when I was, it was 2000, I graduated college in 2003, so it was 2002. I was 22 years old. It was right before I was going back to college, and I went down to the altar. I was sitting in service, and I was one of these cats. I went to church, you know what I'm saying? I sat on the pews because I wanted a chick. That's why I was at church. That's the chick I wanted, right there. And so in order for me to have that chick, I couldn't get by with her parents not being in church, okay? So I had to play the game. Anybody ever played the game? Like some of you here because your friends are here, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe a girlfriend or a boyfriend or somebody you like, so you're here playing the game so you can be near them. Well, let me tell you, I'm not saying this because I'm bragging. I'm telling you how far God's brought me because the Word of God tells me there's power in my testimony. So I want to tell you about this temptation. That was my temptation right there, all right? Still is to this day. That's my temptation, all right? So I was in church for this chick. That's why I was there. And I went because if I didn't go, I was going to get a phone call from her parents saying, like, dude, where you at? Why wasn't you here? And I didn't want that phone call. Anybody get a phone call of disappointment sometime? You don't want to disappoint nobody. I don't like disappointing nobody. So I didn't want that phone call, so I would go. And there was a cat that came from the lower part of the state at the time. His name was Neil Nolan. And Neil preached a sermon, dude. And you ever heard me talk or heard somebody else talk and it just grabs you and you just hooked on every word, and then God starts piercing your heart saying, look, dude, that's you. Your life is jacked up. You're missing something. You're missing me. And in that sermon, he was saying, look, dude, you got some kind of understanding of who I am. You know, like I sent my son and he died for you, and you think that you're good because you said a prayer one time when you was like 12 years old. You think that you're good and everything hunky-dory, but see, you living your life doing your own thing, and you don't even know me, so you're not good. I'm tired of you giving bits and pieces of yourself. Anybody know what bits and pieces of themselves is? Bits and pieces of yourself is having an understanding of God, but I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. I love you, God. Okay, let's go to the club. Hold up, I'm done at the club. All right, I don't feel good. God, I love you again. Oh, listen, I messed up. Hold up, I'm going back over here. Girl, where you at? What's up, baby? You understand? That's the bits and pieces that we have of God. We want to give him what's comfortable for us, right? We want to give him what's comfortable for us. We don't want to give him the whole thing. See, because these temptations that we got coming for us, we like those temptations. It's when those temptations lead to trouble, we want God to bail us out. God, come help me. I done jacked this thing up. So on that night, man, I went down to the altar, dude, and I was down at the altar. I was down there like that. I had them big old tears. You know when you cry so hard, y'all ever cry so hard that you can't breathe? Like the snot done clogged your nose up right here and it's coming out, but it ain't coming out. You can't breathe. You're breathing out your mouth. I was crying like that. I was sitting there, and I was like, look, man. I said, Father, I said, man, I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of fighting you. I'm tired of fighting you. You can have it all. And I'm sitting there, I can't breathe. I said, because if you don't take it all right now, I'm fit to come see you anyway, because I can't breathe. So I'm down there, and I said, Lord, you can have it all. I'm tired of giving you just what's comfortable for me. So I got up from the altar. I went. I told my girlfriend, I said, look, there's some things that we no longer going to do. And not going to happen no more. Not going to happen no more. I went back to college a few weeks later. I was the only apartment off campus that we partied at. I got the whole baseball team together. I said, we are no longer having parties at my house. We done. I'm done. There was a dude on the baseball team that was a real good Christian. The entire time we was there, he was an awesome dude, and I respected him. You know, the people that like don't waver, like he didn't shout and say, you're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. He didn't do me like that. He just constantly loved on me. Tuck, how you doing, baby? I love you. I appreciate you. He never judged me. He never done anything. He just showed me love. And so he became my accountability partner. Does anybody understand what accountability partner is? You know what? I had drank since the time I was 12. I had drank since the time I was 12. You can ask my wife. When I got back to college, I went through depression. You know why I went through depression? I didn't have the shakes, but my body was this close to being addicted to what? Alcohol. It needed it. And when I quit giving it alcohol, it got mad at me. I started having headaches. I started getting real sad because I had drank for so long that this is what I had to have. See, I still had those temptations because guess what happened? I lived in an apartment off campus, and we lived up on a hill, and you can ask my wife, in the middle was like a horseshoe, and there was apartments all the way around that thing. And every Saturday night, they'd just be people bringing kegs in everywhere because it was college, it was Clemson. And we got the window up in the apartment. We can hear everything. And what had I become? What was my temptation? See, the thing about it, babies, is I'm just starting to know Jesus. So what happened was during football season, she didn't come up. I started coming home. I would come home every weekend, and I would write notes every time Pastor Shealy preached. And I would get back to college, and on Sunday nights, I would break it down. I would write. Because I didn't know the Bible. I didn't know the books. I didn't know who Paul was, who John was. I knew there was a cat that supposedly died for me, and Adam and Eve had ate something that jacked everything up. That's all I knew. I didn't know nothing. And some of you don't know nothing. Some of you only know what comes out my mouth or somebody's mouth on Sunday or what somebody at home tells you or whatever. What happens when somebody tells you the wrong thing? What happens when somebody tells you, you know what, there's another God? You know what? You said a prayer one time, you can do anything you want to do and still go to heaven. Does that make any sense to you? Who gets to go to school and don't have to study and pass tests? Which one of y'all don't have to pass no tests or go to school? Raise your hand. If you get to move on to the next grade. Does anybody get to move on to the next grade if you don't pass the class? Do you have to go to school sometimes? But at the end of the day, is the school teaching you something whether you're taking it in or not? I'm not telling you you have to like it. But at the end of the day, you got to pass stuff, right? And if you don't pass stuff, what happens? What makes you think that a relationship with God is any different? What makes you think that you're not in class right now? Like your life is the classroom. And God is the teacher. And he's saying, hey, pay attention. I'm just pointing you out. Don't think I'm calling you out like you ain't paying attention. He's saying, hey, Owen, hey, dude, I am real. You think I'm not? I'm turning things around, son. You seeing it. You know it. You already know what the deal is. But see, so many times we don't want to listen to the teacher. We want to put our head down on the desk. We want to talk to somebody else beside us. And then we wonder why when these temptation comes, we eat the fruit. So, right quick, before we go into the scripture I got, 1 Corinthians 10 and 13, for those of you that don't know, because we got a lot of new babies, I tend to give away a $20 or $25 gift certificate every week if you can remember something from this sermon. I don't have any this week. That's why you ain't got one right now. We spent too much money on groceries. We got to recoup. So, tell me some temptations that's pulling at you right now. Somebody be bold enough. It don't have to be something that you're doing. It could be something that you know somebody else is doing. What's some temptations that's pulling at you right now? Sex. Thank you. It's pulling. All right? That's part of life. Let me ask you this, and I hope we on camera, so I hope, are we live? Good deal. I'm not going to get this twisted because I know we got young babies in here. Is it wrong to want to have sex? Is that wrong? What's the wrong part? See, what happens is we grow up and we have these urges. It's called hormones. And we begin to look at somebody. I'm not going to look at you because that's going to be weird. I'm going to look over here. I'm going to look over here at my wife. I'm going to look and I'm going to feel some type of way. Right? That's my bride. That's the way it goes down. Some of you start getting boyfriends and girlfriends. And what happens is, as weeks become months and months sometimes become years, it goes from, I'm scared to hold your hand. Okay, we're going to hold hands. Okay? And then we're not going to hold hands. Okay, so like, we're going to be somewhere hid where nobody sees us. And we're going to, right? And then that's no longer good enough. So then what happens? Something else comes in. The mouse. This ain't sex ed, but I'm going to tell you. Right? I'm trying to be gentle. If it was just me, I would just go ahead and throw it out there the way I would throw it out there. But then Blue and my wife would be like, can I move back there? No. Too close. So, we know what happens. These little bitty things start to do what? It starts to grow. And then we put ourselves in a situation to fail. Now, a lot of times we look around this room right now, and this is where it's fixing to get serious, and this is where it's fixing to hurt. And I hope somebody's parents is watching. But a lot of times we get in a relationship, and we get hooked on a feeling, right? We get hooked on a feeling because sex is what? A feeling. And we end up creating something out of that relationship that neither one of us intended. And who's that end up being? Exactly. And then oftentimes those relationships fail. Who gets hurt? Like if we was to stand up right now, I guarantee you over half the room would stand up where their parents were no longer together. Just to show you how much we're alike. Like, y'all think it's cool if I do it? If your parents who created you are no longer together, stand up. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. We've got 31 kids. Sit down. How many did we have signed up, Miss Lynette? We had 48 kids on the sheet out there. 31 divided by 48. So 65%. 65% of this room right now comes from a broken home. So that means 65% when you go into a relationship, there's going to be a generational curse that follows you where you're more than likely, if God is not the head of your life, you're probably going to do the exact same thing. That's a temptation. And we enter into these relationships and we just keep doing what our parents done. It doesn't mean that we don't come from people that value us, that love us. I come from a broken home. Two people that couldn't get along. Both of them loved me. But it's tough when you become a teenager and you're supposed to go visit this one when this one lives in another town and you want to hang out with your friends. Because guess what? It gets put on you. You're always going to let somebody down or hurt somebody's feelings. And who's getting stuck? We are. If anybody's got parental rights where you're having to visit, you know exactly what I'm talking about. No matter what you do, you hurt somebody's feelings. What's another temptation? Smoking weed. A lot of times, this is what I notice, Onyx. This is what I noticed, and I've very much noticed it in the last couple of weeks. Everybody thinks weed is cool. Like, I've been back out in the public a little bit in these last few weeks, and everybody that I hug, that I hadn't seen in a minute, smell like a blunt. I'm like, whoa. Whew, good to see you. Some of you grow up in a household where it's natural, so you get secondhand all the time. If you notice how many people in my ministry that I visited over the years, when I open the door, sometimes I have to stop when I go check on a kid because it's so strong. You're in the car. See, when I was growing up, my people smoked cigarettes, and I thought I was going to die. But now, if they don't roll the windows down, you just get secondhand and get as high as they is. And then when you get old enough to do it, what's the first thing you're going to do? Mama done it, daddy done it, so guess what? It's okay. But what does weed do? You say, man, weed's natural. It comes from the earth. Anybody ever heard that one? It's natural. It comes from the earth. If God didn't want us to have it, we wouldn't grow it. Well, guess what? We also grow these little poppy seeds that create heroin too. And you see them cats that's jacked up off that junk, don't you? You know what I'm saying? We can look at stuff that's created and turn it and manipulate it to any fashion that we want because the devil is a counterfeiter. He takes what God meant for good and he turns it and flips it. It still look good, but it's going to jack you up. And if I got to put something in my body to make me feel better, to knock the edge off, you know who knocks the edge off of me? God. He knocked the edge off. Oh, man, you can't do that. God can't do what we can do. Go ahead and try him. Go ahead and try him. Carmen, you've been pretty deep here in the last couple of months. I know you done smoked the blunt a time or two. Is where you been with God in the last couple of months, that deep, intimate place, anywhere close to the high that you've got off of marijuana? I'm telling you, I've hit a blunt many times in my life, and there is nothing like being in the presence of God, Onyx. And you know what? I'm not going to do it because, not that I don't want to do it, because I know it don't make him happy. That's the why I stay away from it. That's the reason why I stay away from it. I'm not accusing you of smoking it, baby. It's weed in general. It could be somebody that you look up to. It could be somebody in your household. It could be somebody in this room. It doesn't matter. What we bringing up is temptations. And I'm trying to talk you through some temptations. What's some other temptations? Pornography. That's a big one. Because everybody got a cell phone now. And if your parents ain't got checks on it, you're going to do what you want to do. And if they do got checks on it, more than likely you done figured out a way around it. Right? I'm going to go ahead and tell you. When you watch porn, you open up a portal that you can't control. And everybody thinks it's funny but there's nothing, the ones that laugh are the ones that's too immature to have this kind of conversation. But if you only understand the degradation and the things that happen on those videos, that is not what God intended a relationship to look like. That is not what he meant. He meant for a relationship between a man and a woman to come together under marriage. not some flings. Have you ever heard the story of Sodom and Gomorrah? Does anybody know what Sodom and Gomorrah is? Sodom and Gomorrah was a city that was jacked up, bruh. These people was getting drunk and high, and the Bible says that it was a city full of sexual immorality. What does that mean, sexual immorality? That means that people was buck wild. Yes. And they said that Lot had two angels that come through because God was going to burn this thing down. Because that's how bad the city had done got. And when these two angels came in, they came in like Bryson. They came in on hoodies. And Lot told them, look, man, he don't know they angels. And Lot was Abraham's nephew. And he had left Abraham. He brought him in. He brought him in and shut the door. He said, dude, you can't be out here at night. And they said, why can't I be out here at night? These angels now, you already know they know the answer. They're angels. Could you imagine walking up on an angel trying to beat the angel down and do something to an angel? But listen, they didn't know. All of a sudden, the people of the city started beating on the doors. Beating on the doors of their little apartment, saying, send them dudes out here. And guess who was beating on the door? Dudes. These dudes wanted to take them out and take these dudes out and rape them, and that's what they was going to do. And Lot said, no, do not do something so disgraceful to God. Here, take my virgin daughters. Now, first of all, I don't know why he would have done that. I'm just telling you the Bible. I'm just telling you the Bible. We don't want them, we want them dudes. Anyway, God blinded them. And Lot and the angels ended up leading Lot and his wife and his daughters out. And they said, don't look backwards. Lot's wife was a trifling chick anyway. She didn't listen half the time, got him all kind of mess. You know what I'm saying? Lot's wife was trifling. Just let me go ahead and tell you. You know what trifling people like to do? They don't like to do what? So guess what? These two angels now, who done blinded the whole town. If you didn't think they was hooked up, you walk around with people that's blind and you magically able to walk out the town. You know what I'm saying? You can walk out the town without people messing with you. Ain't you going to listen? The only instruction this chick had was don't look behind you. What happened? She turned around and looked. And what happened to her?
Pillar of salt.
Pillar of salt. She was a dust cloud. What did God do to that city? He burned it down. You say, man, you think God gonna do that? I think God is a jealous God. We were created in His image to serve who? The world? To serve who? Him. He didn't ask for parts of us. He didn't ask for a little bit of us. He didn't ask for a trifling person. He asked for all of us. He said, come to me however you are and let me shape you and change you. And I'm the potter and you the clay. Let me shape you and mold you into who I want you to be. What's another temptation? Talk to me now. What's up? Huh? Hurting others. Where my bullies at? You know my bullies like to pour chocolate milk on people's heads. Where them people at? Where them people at? Where my bullies at that like to walk around and just because I like to swing these hands or something, they like to do, why are we pointing at everybody? Everybody ain't got a point. You know who say mean words. All right, listen up. Who like to say mean things, hurt people's feelings? You know what? Most of the ones that says mean things to hurt people's feelings is the one that's getting cracked on at home. Girl, what you doing coming out looking like that? You know you ugly. You don't need to have that on. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all hearing that stuff, and then when y'all go to school, y'all saying the exact same thing. Y'all know the ones in here that's getting talked to like y'all dogs. You know the ones that in here that y'all dumb. Who ever been called dumb up in here? Anybody, people ever call them dumb? Now, I say you act dumb. You act dumb. Don't even play it like that. You act dumb. Hey, hold up. Time out. Time out. We got to do a timeout. Now, if a parent has told you you act dumb, that's probably you deserve it. That's a whole lot different than you dumb. Dude, listen, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I ain't got it all figured out. All right, come back down. Hey, has anybody learned anything tonight about temptation? Now listen to me. I want you to hear me out because this could be on your quiz next week if you want $20 because I'm not doing 25 because it costs me too much. I can get one extra weekend with 20. So I'm going to go back to 20. I can buy 5 weeks for 100. No, listen, 1 Corinthians 10 and 13. Listen to me. What did I just say? No temptation has overtaken you, but such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not. What's the key word right there? What's the key word? What's the key word? What's the key word? Yes. Will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you're able. Woo. So what's that tell me? Is that telling me that you're not going to be tempted? Who's coming to tempt you? The devil's coming to do it. He coming to put that fruit inside your nose just like he did in Eve. Come here, girl. Smell that. Don't it smell good? Do you know the thing with Adam and Eve? Because we got 5 minutes and I'm going to wrap up. You know the thing with Adam and Eve? Do y'all know how many trees these cats had to eat off of? Like 9,000 trees probably. You got all kind of fruit up on these trees. But the one thing they couldn't have is what? Is the one thing they wanted, the forbidden fruit. Ain't that us? I was talking to my wife one time. I'm going to tell y'all this story right quick and I'm going to wrap it up. We got this little girl that live in our house. I won't mention no names because she may or may not be in the room. And certain people don't like me to tell stories about her. So I'm going to try to be nice about the stories that I tell. But Santa Claus came to town. Right? Woo! Ho, ho, ho. Santa Claus had came to town. And this little girl had asked for like 25 things. But we had narrowed it down to like 5 or 8 or something like that. Anyway, just say she picked 8 items that she wanted from Santa Claus, in case anybody's still in here believing in Santa Claus. Santa Claus. Yeah, Santa Claus. So, Santa Claus came. You ain't listening. We can't have fun if you get too riled up. So she asked for 8 things. Guess how many items Santa Claus brought her? 7. Santa Claus brought her 7 things. And as she's opening up her gifts, when she finishes, do you know what this good-natured, loving, grateful, awesome individual said? Where is my whatever it was that she wanted? Because oftentimes, look at me now. Look at me. Oftentimes, the devil is so sneaky that he don't let us realize everything that we have. The only thing he shows us is what we don't have. See, we don't look at everything that God provided us. We look at somebody else who's got more than us. You know, we want them shoes, and we can't afford them shoes. But we want them, and then we start looking, oh, we got them jeans. that y'all pay all that money from that ain't got no fabric and nothing but holes. Y'all want them, but not everybody can have them. Some people's parents won't let them have certain things because they don't want them to have it. The devil shows us things that we don't have instead of everything that we do. In this verse, 10 through 13, what book did that come out of? If you look later on, right after what I just finished saying about being tempted, the verse goes on to say, he always gives you a way out. You're going to be tempted. There's going to be things that look good to the eye. Baby girl, you're going to be tempted again for your temptation. You're going to know whoever's tempted, you're going to be tempted. Somebody's going to be tempted to do things that we mentioned tonight. But God's always going to give you a way out. He's always going to have a door ready for you to walk through. You know what? This is good, and this will be good again, but only when I get a ring on it. Here's my door. Right? Here's my door. Deuces. If you can't wait on me, you don't need to be with me. Let me go ahead and tell you something. Not everybody's ready for that. Look at me right here. Look at me right here. If somebody, and this is really for my ladies, because y'all the one that's getting the most heat. If somebody's not willing to wait on you, they don't deserve you. You better run to Jesus, and when you get there, you look and see who followed you. That includes friends. You better understand all these temptations that's coming at you. Because a lot of what we talked about tonight, weed, onyx, ain't you, but somebody close to you, or around you, or in this room with you. Weed's natural, and it's all around you. You think I'm going to crack jokes on your parents? Absolutely not. Y'all got some good people in here that work hard for you. Ain't nobody cracking on somebody that work hard. What you think I come from? I come from people that worked hard and stopped by the store every night and bought a 12-pack. I come from people that worked hard every week and went and bought them a dime every single, I don't know how many days it took them to go through it. Whatever. That's the people I come from, the people I love and admire. But we got to learn how to make the right decisions. You're going to be tempted from the exact same things that you come from. You're going to be tempted to bully again. You're going to be tempted to call somebody a name or to punk somebody just because you can. And more times than not, because you used to being punked. And it might not be at school, but it might be at home. We start doing exactly what we come from. When I start to parent, when I get really, really angry, do I act like pastor that's standing up here before you? I act exactly like the way I was raised. I have to grab a hold of it. And sometimes I don't, and sometimes I make a mistake. But more times than not, the name calling, whoo, I'll come close. I'll come close with my wife. I'll push it right to the envelope. Now, you nasty. Ain't no reason for the refrigerator to look like that. You know what I'm saying? That was a perfect opportunity for me to throw that in there. You know what I'm saying? I probably should have left that one alone. I'm not going to look back over there. I do. So, look at me. What book did we talk about tonight? What chapter? So the chapter was what? The verse was what? The chapter was what? The verse was what? Okay. Everybody up. Hey, I didn't tell you to talk. I didn't tell you to talk. How do we battle these temptations, kids? Because I gave you every temptation, not